So to begin, my name is Nia McAllister, and I'm the Visitor Experience Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. And I would like to thank all of you for joining us tonight and gathering for this open mic. This is an ongoing series that we've been doing for now over 2 years. It's gone virtual since March, and we've increased it to now every other week, which has been really lovely to gather folks in this space more often. And before we really get into the event, I do want to acknowledge the times that we're living in. Moad stands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, as there are multiple pandemics killing us, including the ongoing systemic violence against Black people. We honor and mourn the senseless murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and so many others who have lost their lives at the hands of police brutality and racial injustice, including those names that we do not know. We also acknowledge the death of Jonathan Price this last weekend, who was tased and fatally shot by a Texas police officer after intervening and resolving a conflict between a couple. We want to acknowledge that as this list unfortunately grows, we will continue to say their names and continue to bring awareness in the fight for real justice for the Black community. And I also want to acknowledge the spaces that we're occupying. And though we're gathering virtually, many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. And our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples whose lands we are located on. It is with deep respect that Moad acknowledges that even in a virtual space, our people, our work, and our network servers are all on native lands. And so we thank the indigenous peoples of the Bay Area and beyond who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. And also just to ground us and acknowledge that this is a space to recognize our grief, our anger, our exhaustion, but also to seek comfort and joy in each other's company. So all are welcome in this space, and it is of the utmost importance that we center respect and continue to make spaces that amplify Black voices. And so with that, I'm just so grateful to be able to share in this space with everyone and find this healing through art. And so for those of us who are new, joining, or returning, the general ground rules for the space are that if you aren't the person speaking, please keep your microphones muted, just out of respect for everyone who's sharing this evening. However, because open mics are very interactive and it's important to give each other affirmations and respond, I encourage people to use the chat to write phrases that stand out to you, affirm each other's poems and music. Air claps and snaps are also highly encouraged. I think any way that we can continue to support each other, even in this virtual space, is very important. I'll be posting the lineup in the chat in just a second, and I'll read out everyone's names before you go up. All readers will have approximately 4 minutes to share. I may switch up the lineup just depending if folks aren't in the space, we'll move on to the next reader. But if for some reason you were in the original lineup and I've skipped you, just send me a message and I'll make sure you get in. And I'm also very excited that our feature this evening is Jubi Arriola-Headley. And so he will be doing his feature about midway through the open mic this evening. The last thing I want to say is also a huge thank you to Art Bridges for their generous support in helping us continue our dynamic programming at Moad. And so with that, I'm going to put the lineup in the chat and welcome Christopher D. Sims up to the mic.
Okay, thanks, Nia. It's getting ready here, and I hope I'm not too dark and it's better internet service. So thanks for the opportunity again. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm sharing a piece that I wrote for ancestor Mary Barack, whose birthday yesterday. And I consider her a teacher. He taught me how to write social justice poetry. So this is for Mary Barack, may rest in peace. I'm probably being followed by the CIA because I have listened to your poem on YouTube. You were just that revolutionary. You were just as powerful of a poet, my teacher.
Hey, Christopher, the audio is kind of going in and out a little bit. I want to make sure that we can all hear your words.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. You know what, can you get me in later in the lineup? I don't know what's going on.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see, Melissa Noelle, would you like to read first?
Okay, Nia, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wonderful. Welcome.
All right, Nia, it's always good to be here. And it's always good to be in this room. This is a sacred space. And you always do a very wonderful job of opening it up and remembering not only the ground in which we walk on, but the ancestors that have come before us. And you always do a great job of helping us to center in on what's most important in these tumultuous times. So I just want to honor you, Nia, and say thank you. This poem that I am doing is titled Kai's Letter. And it's a poem that is reminiscent of the children of protest. Dear Kai, what's up, little man? At the time I wrote this letter to you, you were an impressionable 7-year-old boy living in Alpharetta, Georgia. We never met formally. I met you through a photograph taken by Elijah Nuvelich. I just want you to know, I saw you, Kai. During the protests, you had the crowd at your back. You had the police in riot gear by your side with shields, weaponry, and masks. Your beautiful brown skin caressed the focal point of the snapshot in a Star Wars t-shirt and an emboldened fist that raised so high up into the universe. Oh, it was almost if God was also giving you a pound. We saw you, Kai. And even though you were wearing a blue mask to protect you, we heard you too. Kai, we heard you. You said, maybe if they hear me, maybe if they see me, they'll stop. Your words mean so much to us. Your words not only conjure up hope, but your words remind us that our due diligence is looking out for the generations to come. What are we doing to ensure that the children of the world are growing up in a place where their voices are heard, where their opinions matter, and they are not only seen, but they are respected? What are we doing to ensure that the generations to come will be afforded the opportunity to show who they are and not be judged by the hue of their skin tone? What are we doing to unmask the words fear and inferior, to create better understanding of this nation and the people that dwell in it? One thing I know for sure, Kai, history is a great teacher. We must learn from humanity and set forth goals to build a greater nation that truly merits and upholds that all are created equal. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like to be equal? What does it mean, Kai, when people say Black Lives Matter? How do you decide? And however you decide, to choose to answer those questions, always lean on the word equity to guide you through it. Kai, you said, I'm going to be the next Martin Luther King Jr. I could see your determination. Oh, Kai, you captivated us. And I think in spirit, Martin Luther King was standing right there with you at the CNN Center. The only thing is, I believe he wasn't saying you would be the next Martin Luther King Jr. Oh no, I believe he was saying to himself, behold, and praise God for Kai Aiden, the future. Kai, one day I hope to meet you. And maybe we can strategize together, or at the very least, talk about our favorite Star Wars movie. I'm a huge fan of space exploration. And by the way, I forgot to mention, my name is Melissa. My students, they call me Miss Green. Just know that I'm proud of you, Kai. Continue to hold that fist high. In solidarity, in truth, we are with you. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Melissa. Thank you so much for sharing that piece and honoring the space in that way. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Yusef Salaam. Welcome back, Yusef. Let me know if you can hear me right now. This may be one of those days that technology is not on our side, but that's okay. We're just gonna work with it. Yusef, can you hear me speaking? I'm gonna go have Norm up next on the mic, and Yusef, I'll send you a message to make sure we get you on the mic next. Norm, are you ready to go?
Yes. Thank you so much for setting up this space. And thank you for all of the permission that our ancestors have given us to walk on the land and to speak from our hearts. I have a few pieces, and the first one is called Alien. African American, never both, always neither. The next piece is called Weather Report. Clouds bloom like chrysanthemums. A slow motion explosion, edges fractaling light, refracturing, manufacturing, cultivating moisture in shifting temperatures, sucking water plumes out of thin air, becoming dense, almost impenetrable, not impervious to gloom-filled grays dominating underbelly shadows. Skies overflowing water, pouring into gravity, falling into chaos, causing disorder, getting wet fears, raindrops racing to the ground, heat rising, carrying steam, hot air building up friction, energy bringing the rumble between wet and dry, between the charges, positive and negative, until electricity explodes in all directions, looking for ground to bury light, streaking in an instant, not far behind, surrounding vibrations, announce the parting of bonds, separating particles too fast, light, sound, blind, shiver, shake, walls, tumbling eardrums, echoing underfoot in the puddles, gathering around the chambers of startled hearts. Gaia Mundo loves the dance between air and water, inundating some while only quenching her thirst, our salvation. And the last piece is called The Infrastructure Project. The superhighway called life, Mixed in concrete and asphalt, I am pavement. I am the fork in my road. The direction is forward. I am the ravine becoming a canyon. Rivers and time erode inventions of memory. I become a trench, diving in on itself, swimming into undercurrents, fins morphing into wings, flying out of the depths, dark becoming fuel, propelling me towards inner flame. When the road in front of me ends, I must become the bridge that gets me to the other side. Peace.
Those were beautiful, Norm. That bridge to the other side. Thank you. Thank you for those words. It's always wonderful to hear you. Let's see. Next up, let's see. I see that Yusef's joining us. Yusef, let's see. How's the audio doing? I think we'll revisit in another moment. We're gonna keep trying at this. Yusef, can you hear me speaking? Okay. I think you're still muted. I can see that you're talking, but we can't hear you right now.
You can hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you. Yes, wonderful. Great.
Okay, that's on the phone, look like.
Perfect. You sound very clear.
All right.
Are you ready to share your piece with us, Yusef?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. This is called You Got to Move. It's a old gospel song. It also became a civil rights movement song. Okay. You can hear me, right? Shadows under a midnight crescent, hitched to a star-selling north, stumbling toward a boat on the shore to cross over, hounds howling and fangs gnashing on the scent of cotton-field fugitives, the shrieks of whistles and hurried of galloping horses. You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit, you got to move. Ethiopians in blue stab bayonets to the boom boom of cannon blasts. Lee's boys trade their lives to live a lie. 3 million incarcerated peer through gun smoke and blood smears, praying for the light that Lincoln promised. You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit, you got to move. No resurrection during Reconstruction, promise of justice but just destruction, push back to plantations, again food, no 40 acres and no mule. You got to move, no doubt about it. Won't you never quit, oh, you got to move. Cold with no keys and Jim Crow. Picking cotton is all you better know. Can't vote, can't buy no land. Ain't I a woman and my husband a man? You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit. You got to move, Lord, you got to move. Mothers and children, chill sport of lynch, feather and tar, spoon flesh and blood soup from a Mason-Dixon jar. A boy's bloated body float Tallahatchie River low tide, face so disfigured, my soul runs and hide. You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit. You got to move. Toilet seats segregated in towns where infants nurture on Aunt Jemima tits, where a worn-out woman sits on a front seat throne and claims courtesy too. Towns order hounds to hack the legs of freedom, marching to amend, where big gun water tubes explode and wrench off the skin of kneeling natives. You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit. You got to move. A newborn morning sun blossoms and surges power that unloves fear. Hearts pound drums that demand equal shares of the dream. Hardened souls submit again at Appomattox, shrewd staccato threats of Dixieland snare drums. You got to move, no doubt about it. Don't you never quit. You got to move, child. You got to move. Thank you.
Wow, Yusef, that was incredible. Absolutely. Your voice has such a weight and like the haunting feel of the music. It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Karita Wilson. Welcome.
Hey. All right, the piece I'm going to read tonight is called On the Rocks. And here we go. Welcome home, college girl, my mama said joyfully as I arrived home. It was an early Saturday morning in the country, birds chirping, and a beautiful sunrise as my mama greeted me on the driveway wearing a muumuu, house shoes, and a silk bonnet. I was in my first year of college at the university level, hadn't seen my hometown friends in months, and was long overdue for some family time, a margarita on the rocks, and a home-cooked meal. Being back home was a joy, but it also meant back to following house requests, not staying out too late, keeping my music from waking up the whole house, and going to church. I heard it so much growing up. If you can stay out all night partying, you can get your ass up and go to church. Their house, their rules. My ex-boyfriend Scooter lived about 25 minutes away, so whenever I travel home, his house was always the go-to spot. But since our recent breakup, things had changed. As I walked in the house, the smell of my daddy's cooking hit me in the face. His excitement for me being home was felt through his cooking. Angel Mama pancakes, eggs, grits, and that thick-cut bacon, while my mama helped with the rest of my bags. Shortly after, my cell phone buzzed. It was Scooter. Either word travels fast or his senses told him I was in town. Scooter and I had been together for about a year, and I knew I wasn't ready to be baby mama number 3. Not to mention, my parents weren't fond of his lifestyle and reputation in the streets. When Scooter and I met, we instantly hit it off, and in my eyes, he was different from the immature college boys. Scooter was older and wiser, smart but quiet, and always so chill. We had an understanding that as his girl, no baby mama came before me, and no illegal transactions were to occur in my presence. Weekends with Scooter was full of Crown Royal on the rocks, club hopping in his old school Cadillac, and raunchy nights. He kept my car cleaned and gassed up, covered all weekend costs, fed me good, and put it down. In my tender 21-year-old mind, that was all I needed before it was back to studying and cramming math equations down my brain. Later that evening, my daddy whipped up oxtails and gravy, collard greens, a pot of red beans and rice, and jiffy cornbread while the rest of our Saturday was spent laughing, playing cards, and sipping margaritas with family and friends. Once everyone went home, I cleaned the kitchen, showered, and went to bed. 1:02 a.m. I woke up to my phone ringing. Torn by Latoya Luckett. It was the ringtone set to Scooter's name. I flipped it open and quietly listened as he gave off a round of hellos before telling me to come outside. I know this nigga did not just show up to my parents' house at 1 a.m, I thought to myself. Scooter was a quiet but a bold one. I rolled out of bed to notice the dimly lit headlights on his Cadillac DeVille shining through my window. I deactivated the alarm, let the garage up, and hopped in the back seat where he sat reclined in a white tee, a smirk on his face, and boxers at attention. The tunes of Charlie Wilson's There Goes My Baby sang through the speakers. He knew my weaknesses and knew he was one. I put on my big girl panties and forced myself to have that uncomfortable conversation one final time. Sunday morning, my daddy was up preparing breakfast, scrambled eggs, deer sausage, and biscuits, while my mama sat on the back patio sipping coffee and studying her Sunday school lesson. That nigga ain't the one, my daddy said as he buttered the remaining biscuits. Stomach in knots, I let out a soft, I know. I ate a small plate before heading to church. Scooter never cared for church, so our Sundays would consist of waking up extra late and laying around until it was time to head out to the club. Same old routine. After a while, I realized certain habits got old, and I eventually seen our lives going in two different directions. I arrived at church and listened to Pastor Davis's message on temptation, weaknesses, and having faith to make it out of the dark days. A light bulb went off. It all came together. Months of not going to church made me realize spirituality and having my spirit fed was the fuel that I needed. As children, we're taught the 5 food groups to balance a healthy lifestyle and gain nutrients that's essential for life and growth. But as adults, we tend to forget what a balanced lifestyle should look like outside of work, family, and different happenings in the world. Prayer or meditation, activities that keep us rejuvenated, and healthy relationships is key to elevating ourselves. Things eventually ended between Scooter and I, but the lesson I took from that relationship is to never be ashamed of your mistakes or who you once loved. Everybody comes to the table with baggage, but we have to decipher what's worth shuffling through, who we let in, and who we let go. Mistakes are a part of the course, or what one would call growing pains. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karita, for sharing your story. Thank you. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Raymond Nat Turner. Welcome back, Raymond.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yep, we can hear you.
And can I be seen? I don't see myself. Okay.
We can see you too.
That's funny. Okay, thank you again, Nia, for your work and bringing us all together. I'm going to do a couple of pieces that I just did that were just written. This one is on Dissident Voice, the site called Dissident Voices, I guess it is. And it's called Anarchist Jurisdiction State of Mind. And it's inspired by the great Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. Some thugs like to lie all day, strip our rights away, make the people pay, chanting USA, hopping flights of fantasy for the greedy bourgeoisie, and the Confederacy. But we're taking an anti-fascist stand because we're in an anarchist jurisdiction state of mind. It seems so easy lying day to day, stripping our rights away, making the people pay, chanting USA. Out of touch with the people's pain and need, protecting all crimes of billionaire greed. But we're taking an anti-fascist stand because we're in an anarchist jurisdiction state of mind. We've seen enough of all the Nazi stars, all the lawless czars, and the cult of death of a bungling bleach regime, Mangla medicine team. We can't afford to waste more time before we organize, figuring out how we will rise to make the rich pay. And my second piece is called October Surprise. It seems as though each day is more packed than the previous day. And when you wake up, you don't know what state the world is in, except it's probably not better than when you went to sleep. October Surprise, or President Pence pardon. They say he could use your thoughts and prayers like he used your taxes praying to big white Buddha bottles of bleach. They say he never ever wants to be seen with Big Daddy Herman Cain's black ass again, and 19,000 Amazon workers infected. They say it wasn't his super spreader double header Olympics of lying. It was hope, and hope knows her place below the bus. But she's begging Jesse to work his magic, his mumbo jumbo. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. They say boss tweets lethargic, feverish with flu-like symptoms. It is what it is. They say it's the China virus, Kung flu, Chinese hoax, affects virtually nobody. They say his herd mentality is strong, so the virus will just go away. Poof, like a miracle. Yes, the miracles are all gone. Just Smokey's left. They say this is serious, not some stunt for spiking sales of hydroxychloroquine or making the wrong man a strong man. 30 days left to campaign, 30 days before selection. Why would he risk looking weak in a suckers and losers hospital? They say he must quarantine for 14 days, chained to his hospital bed like a victim of police violence. Nurses demanding he wear a Hannibal Lecter mask. But rules and laws of science don't apply to him. They say it's his Boris moment of clarity, not just an obese bore snorting news cycles. They say they must trace his Deutsche Bank 5 family, world oligarch, war profiteer contacts, his Wall Street gang bankster contacts, his fracking fossil fuel contacts, his embassy butchering low bar, right-wing racist, assault right, Nazi Hitler loving contacts, to see if there are fine people on both sides. They say, if marked cards, loaded dice, tilted table, thumb on the scale, fail, the orange age ain't over. It's over there. President Pence pardon, off to Modi land, bossa nova with Bolsonaro, or getting down and dirty with Duterte, or painting red square, shithole orange.
Thank you so much for those pieces, Raymond. The wit, the music, your way of reading, I love it all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Landon Smith. Welcome.
How we doing? This one is called Puppet Shows. I've never been a fan of puppet shows ever since they canceled Fraggle Rock. Theoretical renditions of the same tale told in different face masks. Hamilton box office dollars promoting colonization in blackface, and I have never been interested in stage setting, precluding waves of pre-written maintenance of supremacy we learned would not change after the last explosion separated another brown face from an Obama drone sent from thousands of miles away, thousands of times, projecting another puppet pushing buttons for routine maintenance. Glorification of Broadway cadence in Disney costumes while production is predicated on consumption. The hands haven't shifted much. Other than telling whom to say what in back rooms blinded by pack streams and shuffled lobbying. Ballot box blues tearing at consciences tied to blood drained from voter suppression and gerrymandered billy clubs. Can't seem to find a peace. Can't seem to quiet the bones broken for fingers to check boxes for admission to puppet shows. Narrow avenues feeling restricting from the claustrophobia of Black folk fighting for a matchstick beneath a Truman Show sun turned off with hooks planted from another bill. Jargon meant to pad the padlock of a straitjacket. Wishing fire claimed the stage. Clapped until encore filled with crackles and ashes of a C-SPAN scam. Not sure if forearms prove fireproof on puppet stages. Sometimes being propped up can relieve you of air. And what are you without breath? What are you without air in your lungs? Perhaps you are dead already. Body propped up for show, to fabricate a ruse, and the pedestal does not require any cerebral function at all, because perhaps you are dead already. Murdered beneath a blanket and an eyelid, cast as just thinking differently while your breath is no longer even yours. It is the pavements. It is the respirators. It is the fish hooks that has pulled you into a shadow of the self you never could be. Before you were murdered beneath a blanket and told your thinking was critical. A pedestal puppet vacant of the oxygen that the pale deserts have propped you up for, while your breath is not even yours. Thin air can make respiration troublesome, but can produce rampant rationalizations to eradicate the burdensome under the boot of status quo. And replicated eradication breathed into materialization and cast as something to respect, as if conversation is the means to revive a puppet with no breath, as if conversation is the means to provide air to the already dead when the surroundings remain the same. I am retracing steps to see where you were poisoned and who managed to take your breath beneath the cover of covers and shadow figures operating stealthily, always within sheets and never outside of them. The most elaborate ruse ever had, the puppet in black skin with no breath, propped up. The air up there is crisp for a breathless corpse. I hope you find your way home. I hope you find your way home. I hope you find your way back to life. Thank you.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for that piece. That was wonderful. And a quick plug, Lynn will be one of our features next month. So please continue coming to these events and supporting all of our poets in this space. I'm going to now read a couple pieces, and then we'll have one more open mic reader and then our feature for this evening. So I think at one of the last open mics, I had read a piece and I said it was a work in progress, that it would evolve a little bit and change. So I will be sharing the updated version of this. So it may sound familiar. This is entitled, A History of Bones Talking Out the Side of Their Neck. What I know to be true is, I am buried beneath a bougainvillea bush. For all I know, my sibling could be the very earth I lie in. My first lifeline is now somebody else's food. It is 2:34 a.m. in the town that birthed you 103 years ago. It is 40 degrees Fahrenheit in that same town that ran your mother out. Sundown in any other place would be beautiful. My memories sleep in two separate rooms. They argue about picket lines through the wall in my childhood closet. They say, what came first, the mask or the martyr? The forgetting begins 2 steps before the dream wakes up. The virus arrives as a door knocker. So I watch erosion from afar. I suppose it's common for oceans to make arches of the rock. I am coming to tell you we have been here before. I am coming to tell you one day you will be the oldest generation. I am coming to tell you this poem is the last place they will look for you. I am coming to tell you the revolution will come with water. I tell you I am coming. And I'll share one more piece, which is slightly longer, which I don't think I've shared in this space, but I had the immense joy and honor of getting to interview and speak with my mom and her older sisters about their experiences growing up here in Oakland and Berkeley from the 30s onwards. And so I transcribed our interview, our conversation, which was like 2 hours, and crafted a poem out of the lines of our conversation. So as I often do with my poems, I'm drawing on family stories and memories and ancestors, living and past. And so this is in tribute to my family, my mom, her sisters, my aunts. This is their story. This is entitled The Retelling. You have to be American, citizen, obey, obey, obey. It was hard work, but we just got used to it. You had to hold your tongue half the time. You couldn't talk back, but you couldn't make faces either. Before Rosa Parks, my grandmother refused. She was a fighter. I think that's why I like water. He was a self-employed fisherman. Mama was a stay-at-home mom. He was 12 years older than her. She was a housewife. That's what women did at the time. Where does your name come from? The Great Migration. Our godparents were Filipino or mixed couples. I wanted him to teach me Tagalog. They would all speak the language. In those days, they expected the Black people to, get out in the gutter. No matter where we go in a big group, they don't like us. She left Arkansas, threatened by white people, got on a train, didn't know where she was going to end up, but ended up in Oakland. Grandma was kind of fearless, trailblazer. Our father was very quiet. He worked his way over, always bringing home fresh fish. It was something he loved, the endless horizon, being out on the water. We were living in a matriarchy. Born in Oakland, 3 generations in the house. We had Southern breakfasts. There was always something cooking. She used to make stuff in the bathtub, and the police would come and look. See, she was a bootlegger. I wasn't supposed to know I was wearing hand-me-downs. People saw that I looked different. When we were little, we were Negro. They presumed you had an attitude because you had that, quote, good hair. We didn't make waves. We were nice girls. Used to run in a trio. We used to ride up to the library. Maybe that was before the war. It's a church now. You had decorated your bicycle with crepe paper through the spokes. Remember playing hide and seek at night when the big trains would go by and the whole house would shake. I dream in the streets. The world is really different than when we were growing up. You just want to stop the car and walk the streets again. Mama never drove. She would carry me into the movies to save 14 cents. Those were the days. The baby's 76 years old now. I went back to school to become independent on my own. We all went to college, set the standard. First Black person in the whole organization, first Black middle management person. Oh, that's right. Equal employment plans for progress. And yet you still can't tell us apart. We did a lot of holding back. Holding your tongue. I used to iron sheets when I first got married. Ironing things that don't need to be ironed. Standing at that ironing board thinking, is this all my life's gonna be about? I got to be independent when I moved away from home. That's when Martin Luther King was shot. They had riots in Washington. If we take you to jail again, what do you want to be called? Black or Negro? I'm an American, Afro-Asian. You're having me deny my father. We embrace ourselves. We don't try to enhance where we are now. This is how it's supposed to be. The other strength we have is humor. I remember being asked by people where your name came from. It's really nobody's business. What are you? We are what we are. Resplendent. It wasn't funny, but we laughed. Humor helps you get through a lot. So again, I want to thank my mom and her sisters for their words. I am just the vessel sharing them and crafting them into the shape that they are in this story, but I am so grateful for their experiences and the memories that they've shared with me and the memories I get to experience with them. I feel so grateful. And also grateful that at least three of them are on this call listening right now too. So it's wonderful to be in this company. I would now like to invite Tureeda Mikell up to the mic, and then we'll be introducing our feature for this evening. But welcome, Tureeda.
Wow, excuse me. So I'm glad I made it. Okay. So just on the theme of family, I'm going to relate to a blues piece about somebody's G-ma. Thank you so much, Nia. That was, ooh, you know, and I've met your family, those women, they just, you know, that's why you seem so much older than you are, because you have all that nurturing, all that. Okay, let me move forward because I want to, okay. G-Mama's Sugar Blues. G-Mama got the sugar. Doctors say can be genetically traced. I said, G-Mama got the sugar, says it can be genetically traced. She don't know nothing about that, because dialysis is on her plate. Turn G-Mama into the Borg, hooked to blood filtering machine. Turn G-Mama into the Borg, hooked to blood sucking machine. American Medical Association say resistance is futile. We make money by any means. Amputated G-Mama's right toe and left leg. Surgeon amputated G-Mama's right toe and left leg. She begs for the Lord's help. Sweet Jesus, what are my days? G-Mama married, bore 4 sons. She told us when she got married, she bore 4 sons. But their beauty so scared white men, they had to live on the run. She said, white men make all the laws. G-Mama said, white men make all the laws. Imprison sons in cane and cotton fields, worked to death, treated worse than dogs. Pure, sweet, deadly, buried sons in unmarked graves. Said, sweet, pure, deadly, buried her babies in shallow, unmarked graves in Sugar Land, Texas, home of the free, not that brave. G-Mama asked sweet Jesus, what am I gonna do? She asked sweet Jesus, what was she gonna do? Imperial cane sugar president asked Jesus for more money because he got problems too. G-Mama celebrates June 19th, but she don't know why. She said she celebrates old President Lincoln signing freedom papers, but she doesn't know why. Because it ain't freed the mind of white folk from killing coloreds, and that ain't no lie. Doctor come back and tell G-Mama they have to take her other leg. He told G-Mama they may need to amputate her other leg. Addicted to sugar, legless in glory, without knees, how will she pray? And then the next one is in the B. Breath in B Gen Sing. Black balumba boom, bebop, eye drop dreams. Translucent wings, reverent, effervescent feathers favor raven magic. Tether stars shine, clothed in glitter dark red, yellow, green, purple gold mine. Dance a spiral, round root, tally ground, wire, imbue, remember. Light seed deed. Drum, heart, lung, tongue, stars. Rhythm sung long time gone. Revolutions, evolution, you and I verse, plans, planets seat. rock steady, beat, arms, leg, feet, wave, weave in heat. Moon mounts, magnetic mystery. Bring back the honeybees, please, and swing low, my sweet chariot. Let us ride home. Heaven's sunflower has thrown us in this throne of hallelujah, parallel strings, orchestrating DNA helix springs, springing up children's prophets, children prophets, circulating circuitries, generating generations of yin-yang prophecy, radicals radiating Isheoluwa Kulebajo. The word Nomo will not be destroyed. In the B-Jin sing, G-force spiraling, cannot gainsay nor resist the gravity of matter. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Tureeda, for sharing. Those pieces were beautiful and relevant as always. It's always wonderful hearing you. So it's that time in the evening where I am so excited to introduce our featured poet. This evening, we are going to be lucky to hear from Jubi Arriola-Headley. Jubi is a Black queer poet, storyteller, and first-generation United Statesian who lives with his husband in South Florida and whose work explores the themes of manhood, vulnerability, rage, tenderness, and joy. He's a 2018 PEN America Emerging Voices Fellow, and his work has been published in Ambit, Beloit Poetry Journal, Nimrod, Southeastern Humanities Review, and elsewhere. His first collection of poems, Original Kink, is now available from Sibling Rivalry Press. Welcome, Jubi.
Thank you, Nia. Let me thank you so much for having me here and thank the poets who've read tonight. This is not my first time here, and every time I come, I feel like I gain a gift. This pandemic this year has taken so much from us, but one of the small victories I count is that through Zoom, which is a verb like Google is a verb now, I have been able to reach out to places I wouldn't normally have access to. And this open mic specifically is one of those things I've just been so gratified to be able to have access to. I am looking for a specific poem because after Landon read and after Nia read, the words breath and pavement and obey stuck in my head, and I think who we are, what we experience in this country, those words are always with us, whether we want them or not. So I wasn't going to, but I think maybe the moment called for it, or at least it feels like it did. I'm going to start with a poem that I call Comply. Comply, verb 1, to bend past the moment of fracture. 2, to present one's body for dislocation or displacement. See also diaspora, deportation, dispossession, eviction. 3, to tender kisses to concrete with assistance, though unsolicited, which is to say she was asking for it. See also prostrate, grovel, bootlick, beg. 4, to seed the schema of mouth to orifice. See also hole, gap, slot, slit. 5, to yearn for the shrouding of silence. 6, to mortgage one's voice as speculation in breath. See also muzzle, gag, choke, asphyxiate. 7, to sever tongue from spine. You know, being black in this nation, being black in the world, there are a lot of poems that I feel like I've written along the lines of those. But what I really wanted to do in this first book that I've had come out was really think about masculinity from our perspective. And by our, I mean black men, but I also mean black women, because I don't know about y'all, but I couldn't be who I am without black women loving on me and spanking on me when I needed it and speaking truth to me when I most needed to hear it. So a lot of what I tried to do with this book is look internally. And so some of the conversations I feel like are among us, and people externally, if they want, can read them, and maybe they'll take something from them. If they do, that's wonderful. But that's not who I'm speaking to. The next poem I want to read, because when I start with masculinity, I start with my father, who I didn't have the most wonderful relationship with, though he was there until he died when I was 18. We didn't have a great relationship. I was trying to recreate him, and I made him much more the villain in my head than good writing allows you to do, shall I say. So it took me a long time to write this poem, and what I think of it is as a persona poem, because it's trying to be the voice of my father, who was 6'5" and 250 pounds, and the friend that all the other friends looked up to literally and figuratively. He was just who folks ran with. He was the guy that you called to find out what was going on. Anyway, this poem is called Hustle. Live larger than miracle, sweat the small slight, gale and quake with the roar of a warlord. Never lie. Spend dollars like they're stolen, not slaved. Take no as a dare. Trust only your fists. Forge alliances in a shot glass, in a wife beater, in a pool hall. Be smarter than everyone, else stronger, else wilder. Your cock should always be bigger than your gun. Finish whatever you begin. Break laws like bones. When you shoot, aim for the mouth on a woman in the soul of a gangster. Be kind to old folks and drunks. Never give freely what you can dangle. Dress like you're hungry. Treat children like chattel. Never let a man touch you tender, not even your son. So that is a poem that, like I said, in my mind is in my father's voice, the complicated man he was. The poem I want to read next, and one of the wonderful things about having a little bit of feature time, thank you again. Hope you're with me still. I'm specifically not looking at the chat. I want to read you a poem that I think of as a prose poem, except it has line breaks in it. And one day, if you have access to the book or you choose to purchase the book, you'll see. But it's kind of a series of vignettes I built around holidays in our lives. And this poem is about that man, and it's called Daddy. Because Sylvia Plath can't have Daddy all to herself, that's why. So this poem is called Daddy. Christmas, 1974. Daddy, sporting his new Christmas swag, grinning so wide his tar-stained gums are showing, and grinning with his eyes too. So raw how he lets it all hang out, this hunger for what the world wants to take from him, almost an aching. The woman who loved him enough to make this moment sees his need too and feeds it, even though everyone knows you get too close to the beast, he's gonna bite every time, every goddamn time. And look at that young boy perched by his lap, maybe 6 or 7, too old for a knee straddle, I'd say, but there he is, his own grin limited only by the stretch of his skin. It's true, he looks close to nothing like his daddy if you focus on the usual lips and ears and chins and childhoods. It's the boy's eyes, the joy that dances there, a carbon copy of his father's. I'd like to meet that blissed out boy. 4th of July, 1976. Along this stretch of summer we ride. Our car, a solid slice of Americana with its vinyl top and its body slathered in that sturdy shade of green reserved for hunters. On the dash, a silver sticker pinpoints time and taste. Gas, grass, or ass, nobody rides for free. The front seat, a single bench. Each torque and twist of highway sends me crashing into Daddy, a mimeograph of tenderness. 1,000 spans of silence yawn before us, broken only by the screams of passing tires. Suddenly, some sports car slides in front of us as if we belonged behind it. In the slivers of seconds between life and impact, Daddy hurls his arm across my chest, pins me to the seat, arm hairs prickling my chin. My savior. An extended blast of profanity, an exaggerated thrust of his middle finger in that moment, like that sports car, has passed. Just this quick, I lose my chance to say, I love you too, Daddy. Thanksgiving 1979. Daddy hauls me along to the dog track. I press my face against the glass in the betting lobby, look out at all those hungry dogs chasing something frail and furry suspended from what looks to be a fishing pole. I wonder why anyone thinks this is fair. I look for comfort in fistfuls of sugary meant to buy my silence. It's never enough, though. I still want to break Daddy's winning streak. I still want to go home. I still want Daddy to look at me like he does those dogs, like I could win. Labor Day, 1982. Queen Tony's all swish and swagger. He hangs around Daddy's neck like an ornament. At the weekly Saturday domino games in jeans he must have needed Vaseline to slide on, but bulging like ripe melons, just begging you to bite into them. And always Queen Tony sports an angry red fishnet top that covers him only in spirit. Queen Tony's nipples fight their way past those slivers. They look like raisins daring you to flick one into your mouth. Daddy sits Queen Tony on his lap, winks at the guys and says, my good luck charm. Then Daddy holds the dominoes up to Queen Tony's swelling lips to blow, and Queen Tony always does as he's told. Then Daddy makes some joke about blowjobs and all the men laugh, no matter how much they've tried not to hear it. Daddy's other hand planted firm at the base of Queen Tony's spine. It all feels such a gorgeous blasphemy, such a delicious sin. And oh, how I wish I could be queen, so any man would touch me like that. Even Daddy. Memorial Day, 1987. Graduation's fast approaching. The slick suit Daddy buys me won't spare him from my silence. I can't get far enough gone. I got something to tell you, he says, nursing on a British brand of cigarette, as if he could class up the habit. I have cancer. Is it curable? I want to know. Yeah, he says, you know me, I'm a warrior, baby, and takes another long drag off his undoing. I wonder whether this is irony. And one more thing before you leave me, he says, I love you. And that's how I know he's dying. September 26th, 1987. What does it mean to forsake a body? To render it unto mud? To commit it to compost? Daddy looks a fiction of his former self. The chocolate sloughed off his skin, and now he's some version of leaden. He's ill prepared for the afterlife, I think. I can see the tiny white stitches meant to hold his lips together, as if to be sure he wouldn't interrupt his wake by speaking. I place my hand on his chest, as if for the first time, which is to say, for the first time, and feel the wadded and folded plastic patting his chest to its former fullness. The knot on kinks that lived in the hollows of me. I name this moment ceasefire. If there's time still, I have 2 more poems that are nowhere near as long as that, I promise. One of them, I think, follows that naturally. That last scene was from my father's wake. And this poem is called In the Wake. Wear something loose enough to dance in. Fuck black. Fuck formal. Shower yourselves in shimmer and spectacle and shades with names like cerise and cerulean and celebration. Take this body to the edge of the nearest ocean. Lay me out on the sand, drown me in daisies. Let their colors match your cravings. I don't care. Dye them if you need to. Set me ablaze at sunset so you can't tell where the one ends and I end. Hold hands round my body bathed in bonfire. Wiggle and wonder as you watch me firework. Like Boy Scouts or boot camp, pair off, swap stories about me. Spare me the sweetener. Say my shit. Say my silly. Say my shame. Cuddle. Kiss. Make love near my ashes. Cry. Come sunrise, gather what's left of me in your palms and gentle blow me out to sea. Like a bird ever reaching for horizon. Like an eyelash weighted with a wish. Wipe the rest of me wherever you want. Please forgive me. Don't forget me. Let me go. Let me just say thank you. I have one more that I'm going to read. Thank you so much again to Nia, to Moad, to all of you for making and holding space in a time when it's never been more important and never been more difficult. Some days it feels like. I don't know about y'all, but some days I feel exhausted. I had to admit something difficult earlier today to somebody, which is I have had a hard time writing poetry in the past several months. And I think part of that is the process of selling a book is different from the process of writing poems. It's very different, it's not the same. And those of you who've done it know, probably, maybe you agree with me. But also it's this time, I've been exhausted a lot of the time. And the one poem I have written that I'm really proud of in the pandemic made it to the book. And maybe it means something that it was written Easter Sunday morning and it came to me. You know, sometimes you write a poem and you work on it and you have to move it around and you fight it sometimes and then eventually it becomes something toward what you want. And then other times it feels like that poem wasn't yours, like somebody gave it to you. This is one of those poems that feels like somebody gave me. Maybe I wrote this, Maybe my physical self wrote it, but it was gifted to me. At least I feel like it was. And so I'm going to close out with this poem, which hopefully is a high note. And it's called Superhero Origin Story. Superhero Origin Story. It's Easter morning, and though I hear I'm as likely to catch hell as be saved if I cross a church threshold, I find myself tripping over 5 young girls, not a one yet 16, belting "Ride on King Jesus." To my mind, the blackest hymn ever played. And oh, my sweet children, if you could just hear how those 4 sopranos and altos, a pair of each, race each other up a sainted ladder of notes and half notes, aiming not to reach the heavens, but by grace to blast open heaven's door, so as for all of us to taste a minute of that great getting up morning, while the 5th sister does the yeoman's work, holding that bass line steady, making sure that ladder don't so much as wobble, and as if on cue, the firmament above me commences to burst and spill forth all over this green and gray earth. And a simpler man might have thought this some rogue omen, some bad juju, but I have seen the song that rain brings, and for a moment, for one infinite instant, I think my own tears are done with down and falling upward like my open palms to meet the rain for a hallelujah. And as I'm moved myself to twirl, to spin, to wail the words, "Ride on, King Jesus, no man can hinder me," I'm quick corrected by a neighbor. It's thee, not me. I'm not so sure, friend. I hear that song, that unending crescendo. It feels like I'm the one who's unbreakable. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Jubi, for your presence, for your poetry. And I'm about to put the link to your book back in the chat, because I highly recommend everyone buy this book, read it. I'm so grateful that I've had a chance to read through your book, and I can attest that each and every poem is absolutely wonderful. And it's wonderful also hearing them in your voice, some of the ones that are familiar. So thank you for that. I do want to ask, can you tell folks if you have anything else coming up or where they can find more of your work so people can keep supporting you?
I have a website, www.justjubi.com. I'll put it in the chat also. But that's where anything I have coming up is. I have a couple of more readings coming up. I don't know what I'm going to read there, so I can't promise you that it'll be different. But after this, just if you get a chance, if you think about it, if you have the resources, if you're so inclined, if you want to purchase the book, that would be lovely. Thank you so much, Nia. Thank you, all of you, for listening. I can't tell you how much this means to me, seriously.
This has been absolutely lovely. And I feel like, as I was saying at the beginning, however, there's always that serendipity of how our poems and our stories all align. I feel very much so that happened again tonight with the stories that people shared and the narratives, the connectors between all of them. So I am extremely grateful to all of you for being in this space and all of you listening and supporting. That's what makes these events special. It's both the words and the poems, but also the people who are here to witness them. So I'm, again, very grateful to be in this space, to host this space. And as I said at the start of the event, this is a bi-monthly open mic. So our next one will be on October 22nd. It's like, what month is this? October 22nd. And our feature will be Wanda Sabir. So please join us again for that event. We also do welcome your feedback. We love to know how you are enjoying these programs so that we can best support our communities. We'll be putting a link in the chat that Elizabeth's so grateful or so helpful to be doing right now. Thank you. So please just take a few minutes to fill that out. And if you are able to financially support the museum to help continue this programming, we do appreciate that as well. You can either donate through our website, which is moadsf.org, or the image on the screen that Elizabeth is sharing links you to donating by your phone. You can text the number 56512 and type MOAD SF to make a donation. Again, the feedback, the support, financial and both in attendance, is extremely helpful for all of us. And so I thank you for being here, being in the space, sharing, contributing, supporting, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And you're welcome to unmute on your way out.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings. Thank you for a wonderful and peaceful space. This space is truth.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mm.
So,
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Let me
this
get off
evening.
before I start tearing up now, too. Thank you all so much. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.